In the grim darkness of the far future, the Emperor no longer rules. He endures. Not as a sovereign in the shining halls of Terra, not as a commander of legions in the heat of endless war, but as something far stranger, something that defies understanding, a corpse god bound to the golden throne, a relic of divinity trapped between life and death. He is a mind shattered, a soul splintered, a body that no longer answers the needs of flesh. Yet, somehow, through the rot and the suffering, he persists. He persists because he must, because the galaxy will not survive without him, because the Imperium, even fractured, corrupt, hopeless, clings to the dream of his light. The throne is a crucible of pain and purpose. Lightning dances across its surface, feeding him, sustaining him, drawing upon his power in ways no mortal could comprehend. The warp screams around him, a turbulent sea of ghosts and malice, and the Emperor's mind, shattered as it is, reaches through it, a lighthouse for countless souls, guiding the ships of humanity through storms that would devour them whole. He is a beacon screaming into the warp, a singular point of order in a universe of chaos. Yet this beacon is also a prison. Every heartbeat is agony, every thought is a wound, every moment is eternal. And he endures. Endures the betrayal of sons he once loved, endures the corruption of worlds he swore to protect, endures the blasphemies of faith twisted in his name. His vision, once sharp, precise, godlike, now fractures in every direction, haunted by memories of what was and what could have been. The Emperor sees everything. He sees Terra burning under Horus's treachery. He sees the galaxy swallowed by the fires of rebellion. He sees the death of countless innocents, and yet he cannot move. He is chained to his purpose, a martyr to inevitability, a god trapped in the machinery of fate. But what if fate broke? What if the cruel and intricate web of destiny snapped under some unknown weight? What if the Emperor, the master of mankind, the architect of humanity's future, were given a second chance? A chance to strike before the fire consumed the galaxy, a chance to stop Horus before betrayal stained the stars. What if he woke not in the 41st millennium, when all hope is almost lost, when Terra bleeds under siege and the galaxy has burned for 1,000 years, but before it was too late? The thought is dangerous, almost unthinkable. Yet it shimmers at the edge of his consciousness, a shadow of possibility. Time itself twists and folds around the warp, and in its turbulence the Emperor feels it, a pulse of potential, a flicker of something new. It is subtle at first, like a whisper in a storm, but it grows, insistent and terrible. This is not the time he remembers. This is not the centuries of endless war, the betrayals, the anguish that have long since carved him into the figure bound to the throne. No, this is earlier. The galaxy is still young in its suffering. The traitors have not yet struck. Horus is not yet the war master of ruin. And in that early moment, the Emperor feels power that is not yet fractured, thoughts that are not yet broken, the possibility of changing everything.
To awaken in that moment would be a cruel temptation. He could alter destiny itself, undo the horrors of the heresy before they have begun. Worlds could be saved, legions could be guided differently, brother could not kill brother. Yet every action carries risk. The Emperor knows too well the fragility of reality, the infinite calculus of consequence. One misstep, and the very galaxy he seeks to save could be destroyed. One change, and all might be lost in ways beyond imagining. Fate is a tyrant, and even the master of mankind must reckon with its laws. But still, the possibility hums. It is a song he has not heard for millennia, a song of hope, sharp and dangerous, like the edge of a blade gleaming in darkness. And for the first time in centuries, the Emperor feels the stirrings of movement. The weight of inevitability loosens just slightly. He is not yet fully bound. He is not yet fully broken. He feels the threads of time within his grasp, and with them the faintest chance of redemption. The heresy waits, like a shadow coiled in the hearts of men. The galaxy teeters on the brink, every world a pawn in a war that will consume everything it touches. Horus, the favored son, walks the path toward betrayal, and the legions of chaos gather unseen, their whispers slithering into the ears of mortal men. The Imperium, vast and unshakable in its arrogance, is blind to the rot growing in its foundations. And yet there is a spark that could ignite a different future, a future where the Emperor acts before the galaxy burns, a future where he can guide his sons differently, speak the words that might avert catastrophe, and confront Horus before the scales tip irrevocably toward damnation. But the path is perilous. For every moment he considers intervention, the warp screams in warning. The immaterium is alive with the echo of what was, the shadow of what will be, and the chaos of what might yet come. It reaches for him, twisting reality, whispering promises of power, of vengeance, of dominion. The Emperor must resist. He must endure. He must act with precision, for the wrong word, the wrong motion, the wrong choice could rend the universe itself apart. In this liminal space between destiny and action, the Emperor tastes possibility. And for the first time in countless millennia, he does not taste pain. He does not taste betrayal. He does not taste the slow decay of divinity trapped in a throne. He tastes the raw, sharp potential of change, the kind of change only he could enact, if he is willing to seize it. The galaxy holds its breath. Stars wait in silence. The sons of the Emperor march toward fate, blind to the hand that might yet guide them. And somewhere, in the shadow of the golden throne, in the heart of the warp, the master of mankind stirs. Not as a corpse, not as a beacon, not as a shattered mind, but as the architect of what could still be. And the question lingers, heavy and infinite. What if the Emperor woke, not too late? It begins with silence. Not the calm of night, not the absence of sound, but a silence so absolute it gnaws at the soul. Across Terra, from the spires of the imperial palace to the deepest chambers of the golden throne, the air itself seems to hold its breath. Astropaths collapse mid-transmission, their psychic screams silenced before they even leave their mouths. Minds crack under the pressure of something vast, something unimaginable, and yet impossibly something familiar. Navigators, tethered to the currents of the warp as they guide the ships of the Imperium, thrash violently in their chairs, eyes wide, pupils burning with panic. Their gnarled hands claw at the hololithic consoles, instruments failing, compasses spinning, charts twisting into impossible shapes. The warp recoils, a living, writhing sea of chaos, sensing a presence that should not exist here, sensing its master, awakening in a time before it should. And then, the Emperor opens his eyes. Time does not mark this moment. Seconds stretch into eternities. The light of Terra itself seems to shiver, as though the world fears what has awoken. The golden throne, that monolithic engine of power and suffering, does not hum. It does not pulse with the muted cadence of life and death intermingled. It howls. A scream of metal, fire, and psychic energy bursts from the machine, radiating outward like a star gone supernova. The walls of the chamber shake, and the air is torn into jagged, shimmering currents of power. Dust rises, metals groan, and the very foundations of the imperial palace shiver as if acknowledging the weight of a god returned. Psychic pressure crushes entire chambers. The custodians, immortal warriors of gold and adamantium, fall to one knee, not in worship, not in deference, but in a desperate bid for survival. Their weapons quiver in their hands, the force of the Emperor's awakening pressing down on them like the full weight of the galaxy itself. Helmets crack, visors shatter, and yet they endure, their training and loyalty bending but not breaking. They stare up at him, and even they cannot comprehend the scale of what has occurred. The air itself burns, the scent of ozone and scorched stone fills the throne room, and for the first time since the Great Crusade, the machinery of the Golden Throne seems secondary to the presence now occupying it. The Emperor stands. The sight is unbearable. A figure of impossible scale, both human and more than human, rises from the throne that has bound him for millennia. His robes are torn, golden threads singed and blackened, but they shimmer with power. His armor, long unused, gleams with the memory of wars fought across countless worlds. His eyes burn with the like of 1,000 psychers, yet they are sharp, calculating, and cold. The weight of his gaze crushes all thought, bending minds to raw awareness. Around him, reality itself trembles. The chamber, designed to contain immensity, strains against the force now freed. Air currents twist into spirals, the temperature fluctuating wildly. Even the light from the immense stained glass windows of Terra's throne hall warps around him like water around a rock. Astropaths across the planet scream into the void, their psychic threads torn and shredded, visions of the universe flashing in their minds. Worlds they have never seen appear in their thoughts, worlds burning, dying, and now changing. The future is a torrent of possibilities, each one twisting, colliding, and fracturing under the weight of the Emperor's presence. And yet he does not move with haste. There is no hurry in the motions of a god awakened before his time. His first act is observation. The Golden Throne no longer sustains him, he sustains it. A thought, a gesture, and the machinery hums in sync with him rather than the other way around. Power flows from him into the throne, not drawn from it. The hum of the machine becomes a song, a tribute, a warning.
The custodians struggle to stand fully, their knees weak beneath the psychic storm. Their leader, the shield captain, steps forward, halting as the pressure of a thought bends reality around him. He dares not speak. Even the language of the Emperor, the simple, commanding tones that had guided them across centuries, feels insufficient. The god before them is not the one they trained under. This is a being unbroken, unbound, alive before time, and infinitely more terrifying for it. And then the Emperor speaks. His voice does not echo in the chamber. It does not need to. It penetrates the minds of all who witness him. It is not a sound, but a force, a psychic tide that bends thoughts, reshapes fears, and ignites awe in equal measure. "I am awake," he says. It is both statement and command. The words are simple, yet they carry the weight of worlds. In them is authority beyond law, power beyond reckoning, and judgment beyond morality. The custodians shiver under the force of it, but they rise, compelled. Even the fabric of the universe seems to listen. The throne quakes as though recognizing the reversal of roles. Where it once held him in place, it now bends to him, bowing under the direction of its master. Energy surges outward, lancing through the palace, through Terra, through the warp currents surrounding the planet. Entire sectors of the imperial web are bathed in the psychic radiance of his awakening. Stars flicker as far as Terra's light can reach. Systems that have never known danger seem to sense a shift in reality itself, a tremor of change. And still, he stands. For the first time, the Emperor of mankind is not chained, not broken, not reduced to a beacon,
a corpse, a mind shattered by betrayal. He is whole, he is living, and he is present. The galaxy has not yet burned, the heresy has not yet spread, Horus is yet to betray, the path of doom is still ahead, and now, finally, he has the power to walk it differently. Around him, the custodians kneel, not in worship, not in fear, but in anticipation. The galaxy itself seems to lean in, waiting for the first move of its greatest architect. Every heartbeat is a universe trembling. Every thought is a world poised on the edge of survival or annihilation. The silence breaks, but it is not the silence of death or fear. It is the silence of inevitability shattered, of time made pliable, of destiny no longer written in unalterable ink. The Emperor has awakened, and the galaxy, unknowing and unprepared, has just been given a chance it never knew it could have. The first step has been taken. For the first time since the Great Crusade, the Emperor stands. Across the immaterium, something unprecedented happens. It is subtle at first, a ripple in the tides of the warp, a momentary hesitation in the endless storm of raw emotion, desire, and violence that forms the psychic sea of the universe. And yet for those attuned to it, for those who dwell in the currents of eternity, it is unmistakable. Reality itself shudders. The warp flinches. The demons, those wretched manifestations of mortal passions and the twisted will of the Chaos Gods, pause mid-step, mid-scream, mid-flesh-forming frenzy. They freeze as if struck by an unseen force, bodies twisting in impossible ways, forms unraveling like threads pulled from a tapestry. Some dissipate entirely, reduced to nothing but the echo of existence, their essence forced back into the void from whence they came. Others collapse into grotesque puddles of psychic residue, their minds screaming in terror before they are consumed. Warp storms, those titanic maelstroms of raw power that would swallow planets and rend reality, cease their chaotic tearing. The winds of the immaterium, normally uncontrollable, calm, not from peace, not from a benevolent hand, but from sheer, incomprehensible fear. Currents of fire and shadow still writhe, but their violence is restrained, as if some invisible eye now surveys them, weighing their next movement with the authority of creation itself.
The Chaos Gods feel it instantly. Khorne, the blood god, senses the subtle tremor of his domain and recoils. Mountains of skulls topple, rivers of blood stagnate, and his warhounds yelp in confusion. The endless battlefields of rage and slaughter quiet, the euphoria of violence replaced by something alien, fear. A whisper of dread snakes through the god's essence. There exists a power beyond even him, an entity capable of unmaking and remaking, capable of crushing him utterly. Tzeentch, the changer of ways, finds his schemes collapsing in on themselves, intricate plots dissolving into paradox. The threads of fate he manipulates so delicately are severed, twisted into contradictions that cannot resolve. Spells unravel before casting, destinies fail to manifest, and knowledge that once seemed eternal turns to ash in his grasp. The schemer feels a prickling of panic, a recognition that the architect of reality itself has returned and sees through every layer of his labyrinthine manipulation. Nurgle, the Plague Father, pauses mid-laughter, the infectious mirth of rot and decay replaced with icy awareness. For the first time in countless millennia, he feels the threat of mortality. Not his own, for he is eternal, but the mortality of his creations, of the worlds he hopes to consume. The plagues he unleashed shiver under the psychic gaze of the Emperor, receding, stifled by an invisible hand that refuses to allow the rot to spread unchecked. His laughter dies in his throat, and a dread unlike anything he has known spreads through his domain.
Slaanesh, the lord of excess, recoils as the senses of the warp itself are assaulted. Pleasure and pain twist violently, sensations collide, and the constant euphoria of indulgence becomes unbearable. Even in the infinite ecstasy of his domain, there is now something alien, something beyond sensation itself that overwhelms him. Desire becomes terror, pleasure becomes agony. Every note of music, every flicker of sensation, every whisper of lust or craving becomes a scream, echoing in the immaterium with unbearable intensity. For the first time since their birth, the Chaos Gods realize something terrible. They are not witnessing a mere resurgence. They are not seeing a momentary flare of power. They are witnessing the return of the anathema, the one being whose very existence they have feared for millennia. He is no longer bound. The corpse god who hovered between death and divinity has risen, fully awake, fully aware, and fully capable of bending the tides of creation to his will. The immaterium itself trembles under this revelation. Storms fold in on themselves. Currents of fire and shadow warp, forming impossible shapes in obedience or fear. Entire demonic fleets dissolve before they reach the material plane, their screams echoing into nothingness. The psychic scream of the Emperor spreads like a shockwave through the warp, touching every entity, every ripple of thought, every hidden corner of the immaterium. The Chaos Gods attempt to respond. Their avatars surge through the currents, their vast forms towering over the psychic seas, yet even they find themselves restrained. The Emperor's presence is not localized, it is absolute. It does not merely occupy space, it dominates it. Reality bends to his perception, to his intention, to the thought that ripples through his mind. Every movement of theirs is measured against him, every attempt to strike checked by a force beyond comprehension. Khorne rages, striking at demons and mortal armies alike, attempting to assert his domain. Yet the blood he commands coagulates before spilling, skulls refuse to shatter, and the rage he thrives on becomes a hollow echo. His fury becomes impotent, a shadow of itself. Tzeentch reaches, plotting 1,000 schemes in a single instant, yet every plan collapses into contradiction, and the webs of fate he spun unravel like brittle glass. His frustration grows into terror, and for the first time, the Changer of Ways realizes that there are forces in the galaxy that even he cannot manipulate. Nurgle screams, and his plagues falter, unable to spread where the Emperor's psychic light reaches. The stench of disease and decay is swallowed by the presence of unbroken will. The god of rot feels impotent for the first time, a sensation alien and horrifying. Slaanesh writhes in agony, the excess he commands turned against him. Every indulgence, every pleasure, every ecstasy is pain. The scream of sensation overload echoes through his mind, an agony without end. The Lord of Excess begins to retreat, retreating into hidden layers of the warp, seeking safety in shadows where the Emperor's presence cannot yet reach. The anathema is no longer bound. The term is whispered in the depths of the warp, carried like a fever through the psychic storms, like a contagion of dread. Demons of all sorts, lesser entities, spawn, horrors, sense the shift and vanish before the light of what has been awakened. Entire realms, entire domains of chaos shiver in anticipation, waiting for the impossible to strike. The Chaos Gods, for the first time, understand a truth they had never dared to consider. The Emperor is not just back, he is free.
And freedom, in his hands, is annihilation. The warp trembles as if anticipating the storm to come. Currents twist violently, screaming in agony, striking the material universe with psychic aftershocks. Worlds quake, stars flare, planets shiver in orbit. Yet these are small tremors compared to what is to come.
For the Emperor, even now, is feeling the threads of fate, the weave of the universe, the countless, infinite possibilities cascading across time and space. And where his will touches, nothing is immutable. Somewhere in the immaterium, Horus feels it too. The whisper of inevitability, the tremor of doom brushes across his mind like a blade through silk. Though light years away, he recoils, unaware that the one he calls father has already returned, not as a broken, dying god, but as a being whose mere existence can undo the universe he seeks to corrupt. The universe holds its breath. Time itself bends at the presence of the awakened Emperor. Reality flexes, stretches, and waits. And as the Chaos Gods gaze across their domains, as demons unravel, and as the immaterium itself cowers, one truth becomes undeniable. The anathema is awake. The anathema is free. And everything the galaxy thought was inevitable is now uncertain. Horus freezes. Mid-conquest, mid-glory, mid-victory. The war master of the Imperium, the favored son of the Emperor, master of strategy, ruler of legions, feels a presence that shatters all certainty. He is standing on a battlefield of his own making, the tide of war bending beneath his will, and yet he falters. It is subtle at first, a pull at the edges of his mind, a tug at the strands of reality itself. Then it becomes undeniable. The Emperor's presence, long thought diminished, distant, broken, slams into Horus's soul like a hammer forged from millennia of judgment and power. It is not a rage, it is not a disappointment, it is something older, something purer, something that bypasses the trivialities of emotion and touches the very core of what it means to be judged. Horus feels the weight of it like a physical blow. His triumphs, his schemes, his victories, all of them pale beneath the glare of his father's gaze. It is judgment incarnate, distilled into a presence so complete it cannot be evaded, negotiated with, or argued against. Around him, the battlefield seems to still. Warriors of the traitor legions hesitate mid-strike, their instincts screaming danger they cannot yet see. Demons shrink from the edge of perception, knowing, even if they cannot name it, that the architect of the galaxy itself has arrived. Even the skies, torn by fire and warp energy, shudder as if the universe itself is drawing a breath. Fulgrim screams. Perfection, the very essence of the Phoenix Lord, shatters in an instant. The illusion of control, of flawless grace, crumbles into chaos. He stumbles, his weapons trembling in his hands as the Emperor's psychic weight presses upon him. Every step he has taken toward perfection is revealed as hollow, meaningless in the face of the one who created all that could be perfected. His scream is not just physical, it is psychic, echoing through the minds of those nearby, an unbearable resonance that fractures harmony and symmetry alike. Magnus understands instantly. The Crimson King, the once seer who reached too far and fell, feels the judgment slice through him with crystalline clarity. All knowledge, all foresight, all manipulation of fate, none of it can shield him now. He understands the scope of what has returned. The Emperor is awake, the Emperor is whole, and the Emperor forgives nothing. Magnus's visions, which once offered glimpses of redemption or salvation, now reveal only one truth: there is no forgiveness left. The future he saw, the one he tried to shape, is now under the direct gaze of the source of all creation, and it will be rewritten according to a will far older and far purer than his own. Angron feels his nails go silent. The butcher of Nuceria, the blood-soaked avatar of rage, the living engine of war, experiences something he has never known. Stillness. The rage that fuels him, that drives his every swing, every roar, every battlefield slaughter, is muted by the psychic authority pressing into him. For the first time, Angron understands the futility of unbridled violence, and for the first time he recognizes a power far beyond his own. His body does not tremble with fury, it trembles with awe. His hands, which have torn through the flesh of countless enemies, hang slack, and in that silence he comprehends the judgment that comes not from punishment, but from the mere undeniable presence of the one who commands all life. And Lorgar?
The word-bearer, the preacher who sought divinity in all forms, the manipulator of belief, the architect of heresy, weeps. He weeps because he recognizes his folly, his hubris, the countless prayers he directed to false gods, the worlds he corrupted, the hearts he poisoned. He feels with all the clarity of his fanatical mind the immensity of what he has turned from, the God he has betrayed. His tears are not shame, they are terror, they are awe. They are the sorrow of one who has glimpsed the infinity of divine will and seen that he has acted in opposition to it. Lorgar, who had twisted the hearts of men and Primarchs alike, knows now that the ultimate truth he once sought has returned, and it is not pleased. Across the battlefield, across the stars, the weight of the Emperor's awakening settles like a storm of psychic fire. The traitor legions falter, their cohesion shattered by the invisible hammer of divine authority. Commands are given and immediately ignored, the will of Horus no longer sufficient to enforce obedience. A psychic shadow falls across their minds, an invisible force that bends thought and action to a standard they cannot resist. Chaos itself recoils. Even Horus, the War Master, the chosen son of Terra, cannot escape the clarity of that judgment. His ambitions, his carefully laid plans, the web of lies and manipulations spanning galaxies, they mean nothing. They are threads in a tapestry the Emperor now surveys in full, and those threads can be cut with a thought. He feels the weight of all his crimes, not just the murder, the betrayal, the countless lives extinguished, but the failure to understand the gravity of defying his father, the hubris of assuming destiny could be bent to his whim. And yet, within that weight, there is clarity. Not hope, not mercy, but purpose. The Emperor does not merely punish with the light of his gaze. He illuminates, he reveals, he brings the truth to bear upon the blind, the arrogant, and the fallen. Every Primarch who has strayed feels it, from Fulgrim's shattered pride to Magnus's broken foresight, from Angron's silenced rage to Lorgar's weeping devotion. Horus cannot move. The battlefield, mid-chaos, becomes a mausoleum. The air shivers with psychic authority. The Emperor's presence is no longer just a force, it is a law. Reality bends to it, not because it must, but because it recognizes the rightness of it. The War Master, who once commanded legions with unmatched cunning, now trembles in the shadow of a father returned, a being whose mere existence makes all prior ambition meaningless. And in that silence, in that unshakable presence, the galaxy seems to hold its breath. Every Primarch knows the scales have shifted. The impossible has arrived. The war, the heresy, the betrayal, all of it is subject to a new order. And Lorgar? Lorgar weeps again. Not for himself, not for the Imperium,
but because he knows with every fiber of his being that the God he worshipped in absence has returned. And the God who has returned is no longer content to let men, mortal or immortal, defile creation. He is not pleased.
He does not call for banners to be raised, for trumpets to sound, or for men to kneel and swear loyalty. He does not issue decrees, nor does he march with pomp or ceremony. The galaxy does not tremble at his speech, because his will is law itself. He is no commander of legions. He is the master of reality, the architect of fate, the impossible force that reshapes existence with thought alone. He acts. And when he acts, the universe responds as though it has been waiting for this moment since its birth. Entire traitor fleets, armadas that spanned galaxies, bristling with guns, sorcery, and demonic engines, are erased before they can even realize their doom. Ships disintegrate in mid-orbit, hulls vaporizing in an instant, psychic fire collapsing matter into nothingness. Engines explode without sound, war crews vanish without leaving a trace. Entire star systems blink out of existence, not by war, not by resistance, but by the inevitability of a will that is absolute. No battles are fought, no strategies are enacted, there is no resistance, because no resistance can exist against this. What mortal commanders call victory, defeat, courage, or fear, all these concepts are irrelevant now. The Emperor does not wage war in any conventional sense. He does not fight, he corrects. He enforces the natural order. He bends reality around a single immutable truth. The heresy was a mistake, and mistakes are not permitted to persist. The warp itself quakes. The realms of chaos, once thought eternal and unassailable, unravel under the psychic pressure radiating from Terra. Demons, once confident in their malice, are torn apart mid-scream, their forms reduced to incoherent screaming echoes. Entire legions of the damned vanish before their demon princes can even react. The chaos gods, omnipotent within their own domains, are forced to cower and recoil as the Emperor's presence pierces their palaces like a blade through smoke. They feel their schemes collapse, their armies annihilated before they touch the material plane, their servants scattered and broken. And worst of all, they understand, with a clarity that terrifies them, that this force, the anathema, is not negotiating, is not persuading, is not even angry. He is correcting. Reality itself bends around his will. Mountains of fire freeze mid-eruption, oceans of blood on alien worlds solidify into glass. Entire cities, mid-riot, mid-battle, mid-siege, pause, halted not by time, but by the psychic gravity of the Emperor's presence. His will flows outward like a tide, shaping matter, energy, and thought into the pattern of inevitability. Stars flare and collapse, planets shiver in orbit, and the very flow of the warp bends to accommodate him. Nothing can stand, because nothing is allowed to stand against the correction he has brought. This is not a man at war. This is something greater. Something beyond ambition, beyond hatred, beyond all mortal concepts of power. He is the culmination of humanity's hope and terror, the force that has endured millennia, broken and bound, and yet untouched in essence. The Emperor does not fight with weapons or fleets. He does not debate with words or manipulate with cunning. His weapon is inevitability itself. His shield is the absolute authority of existence. His battlefield is the cosmos, and it bends beneath his gaze. Entire worlds collapse under his judgment, yet their destruction is not wanton, it is precise. Where lives must be spared to preserve the Imperium, they are. Where traitors must fall to prevent further contamination, they do. The Emperor does not kill indiscriminately, he corrects. He enforces the design that was always meant to unfold.
Every action is deliberate, every psychic stroke exact. This is not chaos. This is perfection manifested through absolute power. The heresy does not end in a final duel. There is no last battle, no climactic clash between father and son, no desperate charge through blood-soaked corridors to a final confrontation. Those stories, the myths told in hushed whispers across 1,000 worlds, are inadequate to describe what has occurred. The war in heaven of man's own making does not culminate in heroism or tragedy. It ends in inevitability. The legions of Horus, once confident in their betrayal, vanish like shadows at dawn. The Primarchs, scattered across the galaxy in varying states of corruption and loyalty, feel the presence of their father not as a distant ideal, but as a force of nature they cannot resist. Some bend their knee, some scream in terror, some collapse in silence. Their plans, their betrayals, their ambitions all become meaningless against the psychic weight pressing into their minds. Even Horus himself does not die in battle. He does not fall at his father's hand. Instead, he is overwhelmed, broken by the simple and unarguable fact that the Emperor has returned. His rebellion, his armies, his fleets, his demons, all vanish, consumed by a power that requires no conflict to prevail. He exists still, but only as a memory of what could have been, a lesson, a warning, a fragment of inevitability. The Chaos Gods are humbled. Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, Slaanesh, they are not destroyed, but they are contained, checked, and shown their limitations for the first time in the millennia of their existence. The warp trembles under the psychic signature of the Emperor's action, a tidal force that restores order, recalibrates reality, and annihilates rebellion wherever it arises. Even the concept of chaos is forced to acknowledge the impossible, that there exists a will stronger, purer, and more absolute than itself. And Terra itself stands in awe. The planet has been the seat of the Imperium, a crucible of human endeavor, a stage for both greatness and failure. It feels the psychic pulse, the correction, the restoration. The throne, once a prison, now hums in harmony with its master, not in pain, but in alignment. Custodians, astropaths, and mortal servants alike feel the shift in reality as a physical thing, a pressure, a light, a knowing that nothing will ever be the same again. This is not war. This is correction. This is the galaxy itself being realigned to the path it should have taken. Every act of betrayal is undone. Every taint of chaos is cleansed. Every misstep of man or god is corrected without hesitation. The heresy does not end by human heroism, by courage, or by bloodshed. It ends because it cannot continue. Its existence is incompatible with the presence of the Emperor fully awake, fully whole, fully acting.
This is absolute inevitability. No man, no Primarch, no daemon, no god can resist it. Every action, every thought, every possibility bends to the will of the one who has endured, survived, and returned. The galaxy itself becomes a reflection of his judgment, a mirror of his mind, a testament to the supremacy of the force correcting what was never meant to be allowed to persist. And in the aftermath, when the echoes of psychic annihilation fade, the stars themselves seem to shine differently. Planets are scarred but intact. Worlds that were to burn for millennia stand, cleansed and reordered. The Chaos Gods retreat into the shadows of the immaterium, nursing their bruised pride and realizing that the master of mankind has returned, not as a figurehead, not as a corpse god, but as an absolute, unassailable force of will. The Imperium is not saved by chance. It is not preserved by heroism or cunning. It is preserved because inevitability, incarnate, has acted. And the Emperor does not rest. He does not celebrate. He does not gloat. He simply continues, moving through the galaxy like a correcting hand of destiny, restoring what should be, obliterating what should not.
All who dwell in the stars feel the tremor of it, from loyal worlds to those touched by corruption, from mortal men to immortal gods. The heresy is not a story of heroism or tragedy. It is a fact, and it ends in absolute inevitability. But this victory comes at a cost. The Emperor sees everything now. It is not merely knowledge, it is not insight or foresight alone. It is the raw, unfiltered flow of possibility laid bare before him, the infinite lattice of cause and effect stretching across time and space. Every star, every planet, every mind of every human being, the paths they might take, the mistakes they might make, the betrayals they might commit, unfurl before him like threads in a vast tapestry. He perceives not only the present, but the past and future in a single, unending vision. The rise and fall of worlds, the victories and losses of the Imperium, the slow march of humanity across the stars, all converge into a clarity so absolute it is almost unbearable. Every future, every betrayal, every war yet to come. It is intoxicating, it is unbearable, it is responsibility beyond comprehension, and it is horrifying. Because in that vision, the Emperor understands a truth he has long avoided. Humanity cannot be saved by freedom. He sees the countless millions of choices, each one a potential spark for disaster. A single spark of ambition, arrogance, pride, or fear can topple entire systems. He sees the small acts that grow into rebellion, the subtle seeds of corruption that blossom into galaxy-spanning heresies. He sees the pain, the suffering, the endless carnage inflicted by free will left unchecked. Even with his intervention, even with his awakening, the seeds of chaos are innumerable, infinitesimal, and inevitable. And he understands something horrifying. Freedom is incompatible with survival. Humanity cannot be left to choose, not fully, not ever. Their triumphs will always be accompanied by their ruin, their liberty shadowed by their own imperfection. The very thing he has spent millennia trying to protect, the spark of individual will, the potential for greatness, is also the source of the Imperium's destruction. So he does what he never wanted to do. He removes choice. It begins subtly at first. Orders issued by the Emperor are not merely instructions, they are inevitabilities. Thoughts begin to bend under the psychic weight of his will. Even the most defiant minds feel a compulsion to obey, not out of fear, not out of devotion, but because resistance is impossible. The custodians, the Primarchs, the surviving loyalist legions, they sense it immediately. Decisions made independently falter. Alternative paths collapse before they are considered. Reality itself seems to correct deviations from the pattern the Emperor deems necessary. The Imperium becomes orderly, silent, unquestioning.
Worlds once lost to rebellion submit not because they are conquered, but because the very concept of disobedience ceases to exist. Administrators, governors, and planetary leaders carry out policies not because they wish to, but because their thoughts align with the will of their emperor before they are even formed. Dissent is unthinkable, rebellion impossible. The psychic authority of the emperor suffuses the minds of billions, shaping societies, economies, militaries, and beliefs with an invisible hand that cannot be denied. It is efficient, it is immaculate, it is absolute. It is also terrifying. There is no debate, no dissent, no autonomy. The Imperium operates as a single organism, each cog in the machine functioning precisely as intended, every world, every starship, every citizen integrated into a system whose perfection is defined by the Emperor's will.
Death, disease, and chaos are contained not merely through vigilance, but through inevitability. Star systems, once teetering on the brink of rebellion, now function like clockwork, loyal and productive, incapable of deviation. Safe, and yet utterly doomed in a different way. The spark of individuality, the potential for creativity, innovation, and change, the very essence of humanity, is stifled beneath this perfection. Civilizations endure, but they do not flourish. Free will has been replaced by deterministic harmony. Heroes and tyrants alike vanish into the pattern, their choices predetermined by a vision of stability that is absolute. Humanity survives, but at a cost the Emperor can feel deep in his consciousness. A living galaxy, breathing and thinking, has been transformed into a silent, ordered monument to his will. Life continues, but it is no longer truly alive. The psychic reach of the Emperor extends into every corner of the Imperium. Even distant worlds, once isolated from Terra by light years of space, are touched by his presence. Thought crimes become impossible before they are even conceived. Strategic errors, logistical failures, and political missteps are corrected as naturally as a river following the path of least resistance. The Imperium is a machine whose gears are the minds of billions, all turning in perfect alignment, and whose engine is the will of the Emperor himself. He watches, not as a ruler, not as a god, but as an observer of inevitability. He sees the subtle consequences of every action. He calculates the futures that still exist, tiny deviations, minute flaws, the rare sparks of resistance that flicker in corners of the galaxy beyond even his immediate perception. And with a thought, they are extinguished, not with cruelty, not with anger, but with the certainty of a mind that has seen the shape of the universe and refuses to allow chaos to persist. Even the chaos gods, retreating into the shadowed recesses of the warp, understand the transformation of humanity. The spark of rebellion, the allure of corruption, the thrill of indulgence, these are denied to mortal men. Humanity is no longer prey, it is a sealed system, ordered, protected, and constrained. They have survived, yes, but they have survived in chains that cannot be broken. And the Emperor, in his solitude atop the golden throne, understands the full magnitude of his actions. He has won. He has saved humanity. He has corrected the course of the galaxy. Yet in the deepest reaches of his mind, a single painful truth endures. Victory has a cost. The cost is freedom. The cost is the soul of humanity itself. The galaxy is safe, it is orderly, it is silent, it is alive, but it is no longer free. And the Emperor does not rejoice, he does not smile, he does not celebrate. He endures, because he knows that sometimes survival is more terrible than death, and order is more painful than chaos. And in the long, unending centuries to come, he will continue to bear the weight of that knowledge, guiding a humanity that is safe, controlled, and in a very real sense, already lost. The Imperium of Man is perfect. It is eternal. It is utterly, inescapably doomed.
The Emperor's intervention was total. His will is absolute. Every spark of chaos, every treacherous ambition, every defiant soul vanished, corrected or constrained into the perfect order he envisioned. The galaxy no longer remembers the fires of rebellion
because they never burned. Worlds that should have fallen remain intact, functioning in silent harmony with his design. Primarchs who might have turned to darkness are bound by the inevitability of his gaze. The War Master himself is reduced to nothing more than a memory, a concept erased before it could shape the course of history. There are no survivors, not in the sense that legends require. There are only continuations of his will. Planets, star systems, populations, each a cog in a vast machine, turning silently, predictably, unerringly. There is no heroism, there is no tragedy. There is only perfection, and with it a quiet, pervasive despair. The Imperium is safe. But the safety is suffocating. It is sterile. It is eternal. It is unfeeling. Humanity persists, but it does not live. Choice has been excised. Free will, the very spark that once made men and women human, is gone. Rebellion, innovation, passion, and courage, all erased, replaced by obedience and inevitability. The citizens of 1,000 worlds carry on, blissfully unaware of their chains, incapable of imagining a life beyond them. And the Emperor watches. He watches not with pride, nor with satisfaction. He watches with the heavy, unbearable weight of knowledge. He sees every possibility that has been destroyed, every outcome that has been denied, every lesson that will never be learned. He understands that in saving humanity from itself, he has also destroyed the very essence of what it means to be human. He did not save humanity, he finished it. The galaxy stretches out beneath him, silent and obedient, its fires tamed, its storms calmed, its chaos neutralized. And yet the silence is not peace. It is the stillness of inevitability, the quiet of a tomb that stretches across star systems. He has preserved the body of humanity, but the soul, the tumultuous, vibrant, maddening spirit that defines it, is gone. It cannot be measured, cannot be catalogued, cannot be restored. The Imperium lives, but as a monument, a machine, a testament to the will of one being who saw the path of freedom and rejected it in favor of survival at any cost. Even the Chaos Gods, humbled and restrained, sense it. They cannot touch humanity, cannot corrupt it, cannot bend it. The defiance, the passion, the rebellion they once cherished as the lifeblood of existence has been excised. All that remains is order, enforced by a God who does not forgive and does not forget.
Time stretches on. Millennia pass. The stars shine as they always have, yet the music of life, the chaos of living, of striving, of choosing, is muted. Civilizations endure, but their endurance is not triumph, it is endurance under an unbroken, unyielding hand. Humanity exists, but it does not flourish. It obeys, it functions, it persists. And the Emperor endures with it. He does not rest, he cannot rest. His awareness stretches across the galaxy, through the immaterium, through the minds of billions of souls. Every deviation, every error, every potential spark of rebellion is corrected before it manifests. The galaxy is perfect, not alive, not free, but perfect. In this perfection, there is no story to tell, no heroes to celebrate, no villains to curse, no legend, only the silent, unending consequence of a God who acted when he could and acted completely. The Horus Heresy never becomes legend, because legends require survivors, and in this timeline, the Emperor did not save humanity, he finished it. Because in Warhammer 40K, salvation and extinction are often the same thing.